What thing a person did something that instantly made you think, pass. Was on a date worry back in the day. Fashion model. We were having lunch. In the middle of the meal I get up to go to the bathroom. When I return to the table, it has been cleared. I ask what happened. She replies I did not want to eat any more, so I had them take it away. I then requested the check. She said, what about coffee? I said no thanks, it's been interesting, and that was that. I tried to set very reasonable boundaries with a guy I was seeing, and he said that I was letting my trauma have a negative effect on me and those around me. When all I did was tell the guy I did not appreciate being called a dumbass for disagreeing with him. He had a point though. My trauma has affected me in the way that I will no longer tolerate treatment I do not deserve. Treating the waiter/waitress like they are beneath them. Like, calm down. They are just people like you and me trying to make a living. She claimed she had visions of my future and was happy to report that she saw good financial success for me that year. It was a blind date, and within the first 30 minutes of meeting and talking to her. Nope. Also, that year I lived with my parents and lost my job. So she fucking lied. Said they wanted a date to a wedding because their ex would be there. And then got furious with me when I said I want no part in that kind of drama. Shouting no muffin, mummy needs sex at the dog as it jumps on the bed and pees on the duvet. This person I knew flat out swore to me that they believed that dinosaurs didn't exist. I couldn't believe how a grown-ass person could think this, and, thus, I lost all respect for their intelligence. Huge pass. Attempt to kiss or being extremely touchy on the first date, without much warning. TBH, the kiss itself isn't the problem, the lack of lead up on the other hand, more of a problem. I called off sexy time when I found out we don't have a condom. He said he could just pull out. That was the fastest time I've ever dressed up in. Guy I met via Grind, seemed really nice and articulate when we were chatting via the app, seemed like we had a lot in common. Met for a date, went for a meal, and before the starters arrived began to tell me how Sandy Hook never happened and all mass shootings were staged by crisis actors. Told him I had to use the gents and left. On a morning walk date he saw an elderly gentleman with a small dog in a little sweater, and pointed at them while laughing and saying that's pathetic. The poor old chap was just out for a walk with his little friend minding his own business. What the hell is the matter with people? Started a chat with a girl through dating app. Within 3 minutes of chatting she suggests meeting at a local bar right away. I'm like, I'm okay. Meet her there, and before I finish my beer she's mentioned her ex at least 6 times. Finished my last gulp and noped out of there ASAP. After a day of student teaching in college, she said it was BS that students got extra time on tests because of their learning disabilities. She didn't know that I was one of those students when I was younger. When they genuinely hate children, not having them. Like, whenever they are around them saying that they wanna throw them or something. Told me just let me do what I want when I told them I didn't want to have sex while they were drunk. Was chatted up by a cute boy at a bar. We introduced ourselves, and he proceeded to tell me proudly that he'd just gotten kicked out of Applebee's for cussing out the bartender. I hope Kyle has gotten help and is doing well. First date was at a board game pub. He made me put all the board game pieces back in their cardboard cutout in a very specific order for a board game he had brought himself. It seemed odd to me to begin with to reslot all the pieces, but I was okay with it. That he felt the need to correct me mid helping him put it all away after playing was over the top. Paired with low chemistry during the date, I opted to let him down easy after that. Told them I was bisexual and they immediately said, oh, so we can have threesomes. Hot. Medium light skin tone waving hand sign. Started texting during the date. Got a peek, it was Tinder. I got up, told the waiter to cancel our order and gave her a 20 for the Uber since I drove her there. I left and blocked her number. Screw that noise. Made a huge deal about my driving us somewhere instead of him. He'd driven us everywhere until that point, and I wanted to drive that night. He made whiny comments the whole time about feeling like a deadbeat, and I guess I'm one of those pieces of shit whose girl drives them everywhere now. I don't know if it was fragile masculinity or straight up control issues, but hard pass either way. I reconnected with someone I had dated briefly. While discussing the behavior of a friend's narcissistic ex, literally describing her as a narcissist and listing some of her abusive behaviors, he replied, thoughtfully, "Huh. That sounds a lot like me. Pass." First interaction outside of work. Blows me in the parking lot and then invites me to her house for drinks the next day. Acts like I did something wrong once I'm at her house with drinks because I put a hand on her thigh. Got up and left. Worked with her for another 4 years and never once said anything to her aside from common courtesies and business-related stuff. Luckily she didn't act crazy at work. Was just such a weird scenario. Being rude. It's always good to see what somebody behaves like before dating them because how they treat others reflects how they'll treat you. I'm 5'6", her boyfriend she said she had broken up with is over 6'6" and she says I'm kinda hoping that being out on a date with you will just make him leave. You just put my life in danger and basically explained that I'm being used as a scapegoat while also telling me that you have a tendency towards cowardice. Kept talking about how good the sex with her recent ex was, and how big his dick was, then expected me to get down and dirty. Started talking about me quitting music, my career, and getting a business degree and playing as a hobby. All within 2 weeks of dating. I was on a date and driving to a restaurant in his car when we saw some seagulls in the road and he sped up and aimed to hit them. They escaped and so did I. When you start to notice a pattern of them just always complaining constantly and just dumping it on you, that is always the point in which I run. Can't stand it. Once when me and one of my friend were hanging out he catcalled a schoolgirl. I stopped hanging out with him. She was confident, fun, and sexy, but the day she proudly talked about her ex cheating on her *more* than she would cheat on *him* was a whole field of red flags. And yes, her number was higher than 1. She didn't even seem to feel guilty about cheating in her past relationships until I brought up how she was no better than her ex. I was talking to this guy and he seemed quite educated, smart and reasonable. He pitched a few ideas and I was considering maybe I would like to partner with him in future. Until he started asking the waitress for a lighter in a very demanding, disrespectful tone. Some ladies joined us and for the next hour, I heard his opinions and especially how dismissive he was, and right there and then I decided otherwise. Went on a date where the woman in question was a downright prick to the wait staff and when I said something to her about it, her response was it's just part of the job. They are paid to be your servants. I tipped the waitress a fucking crisp $100, told her then this is the worst first date ever and I hope you never encounter someone like her again. I offered her to get drinks after her shift was over but sadly she had a boyfriend.